Guys, Jeremy Asiffo is back. For those of you that were wondering, he has a baby pigeon that he keeps. The baby pigeon was very sick. He took time to nurture and care for it back to health. Now that baby pigeon is doing fine. Send your regards to the legkick1@gmail.com. His pet's doing much better. Jeremy, how's your baby pigeon doing, man?
Raul is fine.
You guys are so stupid.
Raul is fine. He was showing some symptoms, but now he's doing better. So thank you for asking.
No problem. I heard the mouth-to-mouth resuscitation you had to give him was very trying. I heard you continued it for several hours after you actually had to, but such is the dedication here we give to the Leg Kick podcast. So, guys, how are the rest of you doing? How's
that is false. That is false. That is false. You don't put your mouth on something that has COVID-19 symptoms.
Okay, welcome to the Leg Kick podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Michael Asiffo.
I think we got to make sure that everyone knows that I do not own a bird. That is completely fake.
Shh.
Don't worry.
Jeremy, Jeremy, the people already know. They've made their assumptions. It's time to just accept it.
A bird named Raul? Like, come on.
Do we really need to let the people know? I don't know. I feel like that's a fun narrative.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a baby pigeon? I have when Jeremy was giving it mouth to mouth. Okay, Mike, continue.
Okay, as always, Leg Kick podcast. The podcast about. Yo, can I introduce everyone?
Let him finish, Jeremy.
Can I introduce everyone, please? Thank you. All right. It's the Leg Kick podcast. You know, the podcast that's about overall nonsense. It's no longer about sports anymore. I think it's going to be a vlog podcast now from now on. I'm your host, Michael Asiffo, here with my other three co-hosts and my friends, although at this rate, maybe not. Here to the one side of my screen, we got David. David, say hi to the people.
What up, gang. Hi. Bonjour.
Then we got Stefano Hosko. Stefano.
What is up, internet?
And then my brother, no, literally, he's my brother, Jeremy, the greatest to ever live, Asiffo. Jeremy, how are you?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to me.
All right.
Jeremy, you're looking very zen right now, Jeremy. What's going on?
I look zen?
You look zen, bro.
Honestly, that's my look. 'Cause like freshman year in college, just walked up to this beautiful girl who worked at our, like, I guess it was like our, I don't know, restaurant or whatever on campus. And she's like, immediately she goes, "Are you high?" I'm just like, no, I'm just like, why do you assume that? She's like, you're a very calm person, you're a very relaxed person. So that's not the first time I've heard it before.
Cool.
That was a fascinating anticlimactic story. Thank you for that.
It was. I should have just pulled out of the story, but F it.
Usually stories have a beginning, an end. You know, they have some tension that gets resolved. There's a punchline at the end.
You know,
Jeremy's stories are just three inconclusive statements.
I can't wait for the day where you tell us a horrible story. I'm gonna jump all over you.
Hold on.
I'm gonna jump all over you.
Listen, I told a great story last week on the Leg Kick podcast, if you guys remember.
No, you're a good storyteller. You definitely have the credentials, but when I tell a story,
one day you're gonna slip.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you guys are gonna be all over me like white on rice.
Yep. Emphasis on the white part.
Oh, come on, Mike.
Okay. So, how are you guys holding up, though? Like, with coronavirus, you know, staying in your homes, you know, not training as much. How's everyone doing?
Well, I can say that the lack of training has been an absolute nightmare, and I've had to fill my life with, you know, David, what the hell are you doing?
I'm checking my phone, looking at the topics. Ready to go.
Oh, man. Anyways, yeah, I feel like a lot of people out there, you know, training has occupied such a big chasm in my life that now has to be filled with other things. So, yeah. What have you guys been getting into as far as movies and TVs that we could recommend our viewers
Wait,
and video games lately to
I
fill the
can't.
void?
I can't wait. Hold on. No, before we move on from that, I just want to stress on that. Man, I don't think enough people take for granted, or sorry, enough people talk about how much we take for granted how our lives are filled with external things. You know what I mean? Like things that are outside of our control, or things that we depend on other people for, or things we actually need to leave our comfort zone for. So
Oh
this has
yeah,
been
absolutely.
this has been a huge reminder in terms of like I like to think of myself as an active person, but I do depend on that like external motivation of not only like the coaches but like the environment of going to a gym in
Tell
order to like
Sasha I say hi.
but in order to like work out on like on a daily, let alone like weekly basis. So for me, it's been a real struggle to like stay active while everything's been on lockdown too. Like I've been trying to go on like jogs. Um, I try to do like home workouts. For some reason, like this week, I woke up with like a backache for some reason. So I've been trying to do like some yoga, stretch out my back. But man, like it's been a huge adjustment and a huge learning curve into motivation to stay active for sure.
Let's be honest, working out by yourself at home is boring.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
It sucks, man. We're all going to come out of this quarantine looking like Aki Bono.
You know what? I've actually gotten into long distance running. I've been running 7K.
So, Mike, those are amateur numbers. Come on. 7?
Yes. 7.
7. Bro,
7.
step your game up, man. Get on my level, son.
You know,
Honestly,
I've been feeling good.
I've been doing 11.
I want to get to 7K in 30 minutes. So far, not there yet, but you know, it's working. We're going along. It's gonna be fine. So yeah.
This quarantine period, honestly, is like you got to move with the times. You got to adapt, or it's adapt or die. You know, it's like you're right. You're right. It's hard to work out by yourself because like you have to be around that environment. But there's only one time when I've actually worked out by myself and I've actually been able to push myself in my entire like career. Other than that, you need like a group of people. Why can I not see Stefano and Michael?
Oh, I don't know. Figure that out. I
You
can see
you
everyone
guys,
That's all
just
good.
fine.
The
you can
viewers
see.
can see us. That's all
All
that
right.
matters.
Yeah. So I mean, it's been definitely a change, but you got to adapt with the times. And it's a terrific opportunity to pick up something new. I watched curling the other day. I got to learn how curling works. So,
Hurry
Nah,
hard.
man.
Hurry
Hold on,
Nah.
hard.
Jeremy, this is a sports podcast. What does curling have to do?
Oh,
For
oh
sure.
man,
I was gonna say
oh
curling
man,
is like rock bottom. That's a sign of like alcoholism and like depression and
wow.
Yeah, there's a thing called UFC Fight Pass, man. Come on. Like,
you know what?
there's
Nah,
a thing
I was
called
thinking sports
outside and like grass.
you.
Like I
I'm
would
trying
rather
to.
just walk
I'm
outside and
trying.
look at the grass.
I'm trying to expand my horizons. You'd rather
grass is
walk.
fascinating.
You'd watch grass than watch curling.
I don't watch
Yes,
grass. I
would,
smoke it.
actually.
Thank you
Yes, I
very
would.
much. So
This is
I'll
for
tell
some
you.
podcast, Stefano.
I'll
We-
no, I meant literal grass, like the grass on my
Oh,
lawn.
okay.
But like one thing that I've been doing, which I think, here's my recommendation. I sent it to a lot of my students. One big thing that you can be doing during these times, if you're a combat sports athlete, you got to focus on the small, minute aspects that otherwise you've been too lazy to work on in your daily training schedule. So I'll give you an example. I've been shadowboxing every morning. I wake up and I go into my balcony and I shadowbox, and I do like 100 repetitions of each punch. And then I'll work on counter combinations. And then I'll work on setting up combinations with fakes and then getting a perfect leg kick. Like for me personally, my punches have never felt
leg kick. I get it.
the leg kick one at gmail.com. Send your hate mail. But yeah, it's through these repetitions I've been able to get my punching technique itself has never been more fluid than it's been in my entire life. Right? So like Jeremy said, we can view this, we can crumble under the weight of being isolated, or you can take your time to focus on things that otherwise you've neglected in your training, and you can become excellent at them. Like, you should be coming out of this quarantine obese, but technically sound at the very least.
Nice, nice. Speaking of which, we're talking about sports topics.
Jump on that and say that technically in that case I've actually been working out a ton, because by playing a lot of video games my thumbs have never been in better shape, and technically I understand way better strategy now than I've ever done, so I can't wait to get back in the gym.
What video games are you playing, David?
FIFA. But also
Ooh, this is good. FIFA segue.
Destiny.
Let's talk about this.
Okay.
Let's talk about this. FIFA. Okay, so back to sports. Kyle Walker, Man City player. He's all right. He can play a little bit, Not bad. Not bad. He is recently in trouble because...
Okay, wait. Stop. Okay, I have to stop you right there. Kyle Walker, up until this season, was the best right back in the world. I would say for the last 2 seasons, when he played for Man City on the right-hand side, and even maybe for 1.5, maybe 2 seasons, when he played for Tottenham, he was one of the best right backs in the world. So to say he's like not bad, I think is doing him a disservice. I know that Trent Alexander-Arnold from Liverpool is way more popular now, and he's getting way more plaudits than Walker ever did. But I think like Kyle Walker has been an elite defender in the Premier League for pretty much a decade now.
David, sorry, I just want to quickly. Can you turn off your the blur on your background, because it's blurring your headphones and it's super.
Yes. Okay. Sure.
Let's see.
Sure. All right.
Fair. Kyle Walker, one of the more elite, one of the more elite guys in FIFA. So, sorry, not in FIFA, in the Premier League.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of an NBA comp. Like an NBA comp would be like a Trevor.
He had an alleged party during these quarantine times in which you should practice social distancing, and apparently invited 2 escorts to join him. We can neither confirm or deny whether or not these escorts were just escorts,
or whether they'd been tested.
Yes, or whether they've been tested.
Wait, what do you mean if they're just escorts? Like, are you saying like in addition to being escorts, they're also like, professional golfers, or like,
yeah,
in addition to being escorts, they happen to be accountants? Yes. Like, what do you mean just escorts?
I think they work a second job. We can neither confirm or deny their second job. Okay.
I mean, with COVID right now, making money is
multiple streams of income.
Yeah,
multiple streams of income. Dog eat dog world. They may need to work second jobs. I can neither confirm or deny it. But they want to party with Kyle Walker on one particular night. Okay, let's just call it like that, right? But anyway, it's an alleged. So they had a party allegedly, and Kyle Walker apologized for allegedly engaging in a party, and Man City will investigate and go further with it. Gentlemen, knowing that it's a tough time in these quarantine times, you don't see your friends or family, what would you say to Kyle Walker right now? That's, one sentence, what would you say to Kyle Walker? To lift his spirits, maybe to tell him to be on a better path. What would you say to Kyle Walker?
One sentence?
Okay. Maybe 2 sentences. Why not?
Man, I don't know much about soccer, but the fact that he's partying with escorts, man, live your life. Do whatever you want with your millions. But this is not the time to be partying. Jesus, we're all suffering. You should be suffering too, okay?
But he has needs.
I mean, so do we all. We also all have hands. Damn.
Wait, is this a Christian podcast?
This is a Christian podcast. I don't know. clearly Stefano means hands to open up your Bible.
Oh
And
yeah.
read the
Oh,
scripture.
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
yeah. Like Father stretch my hands. I get it. I
Yeah,
get it.
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
Father stretched my wait. What the hell?
What?
Father stretched my hands. David, no. We will not have those kind of jokes about Catholic priests on here. Now,
Oh my God.
so as I was saying,
Jeez.
when you guys said it was a Christian podcast, I always assumed you meant Christian Yaboa. But
Hilarious.
well, you guys don't know who he is. But
I
go
do.
on, Mike. does.
Uh,
But go on. What would you guys say to this Paul Walker gentleman?
Paul Walker, Kyle Walker.
I have one question.
Yes.
question. Is it alleged because police? Because I couldn't find this in the article. Was it alleged because police pulled up to his house, or was it alleged because somebody snitched on him?
Honestly, it could be that they found out via tabloids. Like tabloids probably got somebody to leak it to them for a fee. So it's probably that someone snitched. But the point is that allegedly there was a party. We cannot confirm or deny there was a party just because no one else has confirmed or denied there was a party. But he basically apologized. So basically, let's be honest.
It's an admission of guilt.
It's an admission of guilt. So
I'm
with
talking
that being
about.
said.
Okay, what about the escorts part? That's kind of what I'm focused on.
Classic Kyle Walker, man.
Like where can you find them?
No.
Allegedly there was escorts invited to the party. I can only say that.
I mean, what kind of a party is it without escorts?
Regular party.
A regular party. Yeah.
Regular
A
party.
party with
I
cake
think that's
and juice.
yeah, that's
Hilarious.
candles.
Candles.
All right. Okay. I'm glad we got to talk about that one. Prayers to Kyle Walker, man. I hope
We had
he
a
makes
lot of jokes at his
recovery.
expense, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that like especially him being in a position of influence, he should be made an example of to an extent. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Because
Oh yeah.
I'm definitely not one who I'm not a fan of the argument that professional sports players are they're role models and they're like I think that's a stupid outdated way to view athletes. But at the same time, if you're in a position of influence, I do think you have a certain amount of responsibility in a crisis situation where fairly unintelligent people who look to sports figures as like role models are going to see this and think, okay, you know what, this coronavirus situation might not be as extreme as we thought. If X athlete is going out and having escort parties, well, maybe I can go out and hang out with a few of my friends, and that's exactly how this global pandemic gets worse and worse. And
Okay, and I don't want to crisscross topic, but it's kind of related to something that we kind of talked about last week, but
Dana White's sex tape.
well, that kind of, but also in terms of Dana White has been a large, I don't want to say one of the few commissioners or mainstream figures to be vocal against stopping sports and stopping competition because of the coronavirus. So how do you feel as a fan of MMA or a fan of the UFC with that kind of basically that dynamic? Basically, how do you feel that Dana White is both a large champion of continuing sports with this pandemic going, but also with that idea of responsibility and these athletes not as role models but kind of setting an example for what is acceptable conduct
I think
right.
it's
Let me tell you what. Sorry, Steph. No, go ahead if you
Oh
want.
no, I was just gonna say I think it's even worse with Dana White because a
Yeah.
lot of the MMA community takes their lead from Dana White, like he's the face of the organization, and for a long, long time he's also been the voice of the organization. And I feel like a lot of casual fans kind of take their views, copy and paste from Dana White. So if Dana's saying it's not that big a deal, they're the Just Bleed masses are going to be of that opinion as well.
Sorry, go on.
Just Bleed. That guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, let me tell you something. I think it's extremely irresponsible for Dana White to downplay the situation of COVID-19, as he's been doing on Twitter, at press conferences, during interviews.
Gentlemen, I'll be right back.
Yeah, he's been downplaying the situation, right? And I think that it's one thing to keep sports going, but to also downplay the situation and say, in a year's time, we're going to laugh that we cancel sports because of this, for example, which is one of the things he said. I think saying things like, the people who cover this sport are the biggest wussies,
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where it's like, okay, you want to keep sports going, that's one thing that's kind of irresponsible, but to also downplay the situation as you're doing it, it really shows the tenor of what's going on in North America when it comes to this virus. And he's one of the main proponents of that. And I think that's a big issue.
Okay, I'll say this then, to play devil's advocate. MMA, it is my strong belief, is a mainly or mostly right-wing sport. Not that sports have ideologies, but if
did I hear something about right wing? Dana White is absolutely right wing.
Hold on, not that sports have ideologies, but if they did, I would say that the average fan's ideology would fall along a right wing. Let's not get political, just right wing standpoint. And I think a similar sport is NFL, which is actually, I think, one of the few remaining, and maybe baseball, but I think maybe not so much, but NFL is still, for me, a mostly right-wing sport. So I'm going to ask Jeremy, because that's the sport you follow, how do you feel about the upcoming football season and the fact that, we're supposedly only a couple of months away and there's no sign of any, or not a couple months, maybe a few months away, but no sign of anything kind of being resolved at this point?
First of all, I disagree when you say the NFL is mostly a right-wing entity.
I don't see how you
right-wing connections. I'll tell you why. Maybe you're right in terms of the fan base and how most people had a problem with the NFL protests, but nobody stopped watching football because of. I mean, okay, some people did, but a majority of their fans still stayed. So it's not like it's not like it's NASCAR. It's not like they're like alt-right or off or all the way to the right. But when it comes to the owners, because if you're telling me that Dana White is mostly kind of has that right-wing perspective, when it comes to the owners and the decision makers in the NFL, I have to disagree because they don't follow kind of that kind of ideology. They're more so
the NFL skews heavily
right. And the owners in the NFL.
They follow the money. Jeremy. They follow the money. They follow the money. They don't follow
they skew heavily right. Both the NFL and mixed martial arts fan base.
Like Jerry Jones is
I said the fan base. I said the fan base does, but the fact that most people still stayed as fans of the NFL doesn't means that they're not like there's still some gray in there. Like people's views can vary. Like it's a spectrum.
Okay,
I gotta be honest.
Generalization, Like is it a generalization? I agree, but I would definitely say that most owners in the NFL are right wing in nature, and therefore, they do have kind of a economist perspective of we gotta keep the economy going. We gotta keep the economy going.
Jerry Jones and Bob Kraft are known right-wing donors. They've been known to donate to Republican Party. So
also Jeremy, I don't think the fact that people didn't stop watching football is a sign that the NFL is not right-wing. I mean, football is as American as apple pie or racism. I mean,
I thought you were gonna say apple pie and raisins.
No. It's such a figment of American society that if just because a few things that displease American fans upset them politically, I don't think they're going to abandon football as a sport, especially at the highest level.
I believe that it's about money. I don't think it's about policy.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah, but like in fairness, because it's about the money, I think a lot of owners, if you were to ask them privately, to a man, hey, would you sacrifice money? Like, would you sacrifice money to, you know, to keep your players safe if you weren't under pressure from, the masses? And they would probably say, yeah. They would
And
say, yeah.
to counter this, think of the NBA. How many owners do we know there are known liberals? Like the Golden State owners, for example, the owner of the Clippers. Um, I don't know. I don't really know where MLSE fall on that. Fall on
I
that.
mean, Larry Tannenbaum, it's interesting. Like,
Yeah,
I
I don't
don't know
know.
his political beliefs, to be
Yeah,
honest.
but it doesn't matter. The point I'm trying to make is that I think that when you have a more right wing fan base or a fan base that's not as in tune with scientific knowledge, it becomes easier to manipulate them, and it becomes easier to kind of convince them that going against basically what's scientific expert advice is the best way forward. So yeah, no, I just thought it's interesting that Dana White's kind of doing it, and it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see what the NFL do as well, because the NBA were, as I said, they're known liberals. I mean, they kicked out the former, what's his name, Donald Sterling,
Donald
just
Sterling.
for like a comment. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
for a
and then the
comment.
Atlanta Hawks
Yeah,
owner, Dan
exactly.
Levinson, right, was forced to sell his team.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So like, I just think it's just a different culture for sure. So
yeah.
yeah.
All right, that's
Well,
fair.
I just think that, like, sorry, go ahead. Oh, sorry.
No, that's
Okay. Yeah, no, I just think that with Dana White, it's one of those things where it's like, look, let's be honest. If Habib and Tony really want to fight on April 18th, right? If they
They
really
couldn't.
want to fight April 18th, like if they could, right? And Dana White made it happen, would we still watch? Yeah, but I think there's times where you have to protect the fighters from themselves. You wouldn't
Okay.
watch?
Okay, no, and Stefano and I were actually kind of talking about this while we were having some production work, some pre-prod work going on. Um, but the more this fight has gone closer to the date, and I think we're what 14, 13 days away from when it's supposed to happen now. The more it's kind of warped from what it was initially billed as, which is this big budget, high stakes battle, basically stacked card,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in New York. Now it's looking like it's gonna be, this fighter's pulling out. Shevchenko's already pulled out, so that's why it's not happening. Um,
Yeah, sorry. What I meant was like in a vacuum. Let's say like every fight was on the card,
But
and
but
these
that's what
guys
I'm
want.
saying though. That's what I'm saying though. This fight looks like it's actually gonna happen. If it did happen, it would happen in a vacuum. So my question to you is, if this fight was like on a ship, on international waters, or it was like on a Native American
Reserve.
reserve, or it was like in some undisclosed bunker, some bunker in some undisclosed location, and we had three fights, 15 minutes each. Would you watch it?
I
Yes.
yeah. I
I
No.
mean,
hate
look.
myself. Here's the thing. I hate myself for it, but I would
Yeah.
have to. I would have to watch it. I mean, the fact that the fights are. I don't want it to occur under these circumstances. I would want Tony and
Bingo.
Khabib to occur, at the MGM Grand in front of 100,000 screaming fans. But the unfortunate reality is, this matchup is so compelling to me that we don't have a choice. And I wanted to quickly inform the fans out there about what the developments of what actually happened with Khabib and why he's not
Yeah,
going
I
to
was gonna
actually be
get to
able to.
that. I just wanna
Yeah,
explain
go on, Mike.
something. Like, is that look, as much as like I would definitely want to see Khabib versus Tony in just about almost every circumstance, almost. But you have to protect. We have to be civilized here. We can't allow them to put themselves at risk from a disease like this. We can't allow Dana White to put on a show with a disease like this.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? We have to kind of, what's the word? almost like stop ourselves from allowing this to continue in the attempt to just see a fight.
We've got to be responsible consumers and vote with our dollar, right? Or refrain from voting with our dollar. And like, I'd watch the fight, I just wouldn't pay for it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got a funny joke we can talk about off air about voting with your dollar.
I might watch the fight on X videos or some kind of MMA streaming site like that.
Wait, sorry, what? You mean MMAcore.com, right?
You mean Christian podcast?
No, I was talking about XM. ChristianPodcast.com.
Yes, exactly.
Don't worry, that will get beat out. Like,
so, essentially, so what happened with the whole Khabib situation was?
Yes, please tell.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. Jeremy, would you watch that fight?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm the only sane one here. Okay.
Wait, David, hold on.
No, it's not that.
David, let me ask you this. Would you watch the fight the next day on MMA Core for free, like one of those free streaming sites?
Of course.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't buy the pay-per-view.
What are we talking about?
I wouldn't buy the pay-per-view, but I'd watch it the next day. Like, I wouldn't. There's no way I would support that.
Listen. I'll tell you what. I would watch that fight by any means necessary.
Okay, hold on.
Just about.
Have you guys seen those Facebook videos where they have like the Russian fighters who it looks like they're in the back of like a dockyard or something, or like a shipyard or something. It's like a dungeon. And
no, what the hell are you watching?
I don't know what's coming up in my algons, but I really gotta speak to somebody.
David's been on the dark web lately.
It's like Bruce fights or something like that. Anyway,
David's been on the dark web, man. David's like, yeah, guys, have you seen those fights where there's two guys and they're chained to a chair in a dark room and there's lions and then all of a sudden a weapon gets dropped in each side.
Are you just telling the story of Daniel right now because this is a Christian podcast?
Wait, the story of what?
Daniel.
Daniel and Lion.
And the Lion's Den. I get it. Ooh.
You covered my Christians right
there.
I
was telling the story of the dark web, but go on.
Lots of parallels. Anyway, moving on. But if it was something like that, though, like, what the whole reason UFC is better than Bellator or any other competition isn't necessarily just the fighters, because we love the fighters, but it's the promotion and it's the production quality. And I think, like, unless they're able to keep the same production quality, I don't know if I want to see that. And
I get it.
Consequential as well.
Because that's what
it'll be a forgotten card.
We're all on the same page as you, though. We wouldn't pay for the pay-per-view. We just watch it for free the next day.
Like, that's the thing, is that, like, what I'm saying to you is that, like, I agree. It's irresponsible. It's ridiculous. And, like, just wait till September. Like, wait till September. What is the problem? Yeah, honestly, how much money would the UFC make? Let's think about it like this. How much money would the UFC make if they had Bullet versus Joanne Calderwood in the undercard of a stacked card as the UFC's makeup card in September, where you have, like, Woodley versus Edwards. You have Khabib versus...
David, like, not disrespect Shevchenko like that and put her on the undercard. How dare you? She's a champion.
No. But what I'm saying is, like, you have this massive card. You have this massive card to make up for all the cards that were missed, right?
Valentina Shevchenko doesn't fight. She does art.
I know.
Oh my God!
You're telling me.
Can you guys shut up and
I'm just saying.
Get her balls out of your mouth?
he doesn't listen. All I'm saying, guys.
As I see Jeremy's hand subtly moving underneath the camera. Okay, so
to look at his.
All our heads are underneath the camera. What are you talking about?
Your hand suddenly. Well, yeah, but mine's not moving like this.
How can you see my hand? All you can see is my face.
No, listen.
I'm making an assumption based on what you're saying about Valentina right now. About
Jeremy, because you were going down. By the way, has anyone seen that video where Valentina is, like, doing a Greece dance number with another guy in Peru? Like,
haven't seen it. Actually, don't care.
Okay, I'm just saying it was quite impressive. By the way, but okay, here's
what I'm trying mediocre fighter.
Wait. What?
Okay, hold on. Guys, let's focus.
Got you. Okay, so yeah, since we've gotten so far off track, let me explain to the fans out there what happened with the whole Khabib situation. So, because there's a lot of I think it's important to clear the air because there's a lot of people out there making, comments about his manhood and about him not wanting to fight Tony. So what ended up happening was David, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I just couldn't see you for a second. Okay, so basically the UFC told Khabib that the fight would be taking place overseas, as in Abu Dhabi. So he flew to Abu
Which, by
Dhabi.
the way, I can kind of corroborate with that story. That is a thing that they were looking at. That is a thing they were looking at.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
So Abu Dhabi was going to close its borders, and Khabib wasn't going to be allowed out. So he had to fly out of Abu Dhabi then to go to Moscow, or not Moscow, but from Moscow to Dagestan, I suppose, right? And then shortly after that happened, Vladimir Putin said, we're closing all borders in order to keep potential safety of a Russian country. So,
Is that an accurate
was this before or after
impression?
he made himself president?
that
for
is
life?
exactly. So essentially, Khabib, by no fault of his own, trapped in Russia. Yeah.
Talk about anticlimactic stories.
Oh, you guys were just waiting for that. Eh? You were holding your breath.
I told you it was
Anyway.
gonna happen to you one time.
Bro,
Anyway,
here's what happened. You blew your load. I would have had a worse story.
First of all, I just think it's interesting that Dana White's hand pretty much has to be forced by like a head of state in order for him to not conduct business in a specific geographic border. That's pretty much where we've gotten to. He's so desperate that he's finding which country that he can hold an event.
It'll be the Bahamas. Don't worry.
Hilarious. No, I bet there's actually plenty of places that don't have flight restrictions. I think the problem is not necessarily getting people in there, it's getting them out. And then the blowback that comes from that, because then you obviously have to test everyone before and after, and
also the mixing of of people
Fluids.
from different countries. Wait, what? Fluids? Jesus.
yeah.
David.
You
No,
being a professional fighter, you tell me. I mean, you
Oh,
probably
yeah, of
mix
course.
lots of fluids with lots of guys, right? So
Constantly. Constantly. And you know what? That's not even when I'm fighting, to be honest with you.
Oh.
So, yeah, just the prospect
as
of,
in you are mixing the blood of Christ to
okay,
drink.
that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough.
listen. I'll bring out some blood of Christ right now and get a party going. So
Where
Are all getting smited for sure.
yeah.
I'll see you in hell, guys. So yeah, I mean the international travel combined with the fact that the UFC didn't even do any drug testing for the one event that it had in Brazil.
Yeah. And I was gonna say that, they dodged the bullet with that, but the truth is, if somebody did get coronavirus and they were a UFC fighter, would you be incentivized to say anything right now?
Would who? The UFC fighter? Be
Yeah, with the
incentivized?
UFC fighter, would you come out saying, "Hey, I have coronavirus because I fought on the UFC Brasilia card"?
Well, from an
I mean,
ethical
if Dana
standpoint,
gives
they
you-
should.
Gives you a little some to say no. Right?
Dana,
But-
I think, yeah, I don't even think Dana would give him a little something. I think just there'd be consequences for not towing the company line down the road. Like Dana White's got a long
would put
memory
some
for
bad
these kinds of
matchups in front of him, maybe.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
her.
So chances are there's probably somebody with something, just statistically. Like if we're thinking how many people were in like the minimum 1,000.
No, but that was a while ago though. Like
I know, but by that point, like Brazil or in Brasilia, the governor or something had already banned
Yeah,
all
Brazil's
like
one of the few governments that's actually kind of denouncing the coronavirus.
Hmm.
They're kind of,
okay.
that government's been a little shady when it comes to the handling of COVID-19.
But even
I mean,
by
Brazil's
then,
kind of shady when it comes to everything, if we're going to be
Hilarious.
honest.
Yeah,
Mr.
I mean-
Mr. Bolsonaro over there, saying that he's going to have a genocide against gay people.
I mean,
That's
this is a
dead.
Christian. This is a Christian podcast. But
Oh,
David, are you advocating for genocide of
no,
gay people?
I am joking. I love gay people. I'm joking.
Well,
I'm moving
I
forward.
suppose that makes sense.
Moving forward.
I suppose that makes a lot of sense.
please, guys, let's move on. Please, let's move on.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah,
So
David and
I think
these guys are flirting with each other.
Hilarious. Anyway,
I
feel
love when
like there's a
I love when
buzz.
David says hilarious because he does
hilarious.
it hilarious. I love that. I love that. Hilarious.
Yo, both Mike and David have very distinct laughs. So David's like hilarious and then laughs, and then Mike's like ah ha ha.
like Kawhi Leonard.
Oh yeah.
The move on laugh. Yeah.
Hilarious. Yeah, no, I can't remember what I was saying now, so I guess we can just move on to the next topic. But
Yeah,
I just want to say
let's
Dana
pivot.
White should be ashamed of himself, and I'm okay if we don't get the Khabib Tony fight until September,
Yeah,
October,
me too.
December.
Me too.
Like, it doesn't
Speaking
matter.
of Dana White being ashamed of himself.
Oh,
Wow.
we're here now. We're here
Here.
now. Go ahead, please.
Mr.
Take this podcast under.
Mr. Dana White had a bit of an illicit video released, or not released yet, but allegedly made.
He's been named in a lawsuit.
He's been named in a lawsuit where he was allegedly, I believe, Mike, can you corroborate this? Paid to make paid someone, or he made an illicit video with somebody's. Mike, I'm a little hazy on the details.
Yeah, the lawsuit actually doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so the story is, according to many sports outlets, including ESPN, is that Dana White is in a legal battle where he
Hold
was
on.
named and identified in as an alleged prominent businessman who is the victim of a sex tape extortion scandal, right, worth $200,000. Okay, I can go into more detail. Would you guys like me to go into more detail?
Did he know their camera was there, or
No,
That is the thing. He didn't.
he did not. He was illegally. Well, I don't know. I don't want to say illegally because it depends on, where you are. Depends on the legality of taping, of one person taping an interaction between two
no?
people.
But I'm saying, did the person have permission to tape him?
So
That's what I'm saying. Sometimes you don't need permission. Sometimes
Exactly.
when
Really?
you interact, yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes,
Yes.
yeah. It depends on where you are.
in fact, in Canada, up until 2019, this is actually a thing. Up until 2019, it was actually legal to post content without someone's consent.
Yeah, now there's a law on the books, I believe, called it's got to do with revenge porn or something like that, where
Yeah.
it's illegal to actually, yeah.
So
But
I swear, when I was in middle school, the teachers would say like you could go to jail if you share pictures.
no,
that
because
a
it was
woman's-
child pornography. So there was a child
Yeah,
pornography
because they're
law.
underage. Yeah.
But
if you're
sorry, go ahead, Stefano.
No, yeah, sorry, Mike. Yeah, that's because if there's a minor involved, even if both parties are minors, it still counts as child pornography. So you could be charged
But
as a
if
sex offender.
But if you're an adult and you like, let's say you send a picture to your significant other and they share it, that person's in the clear.
Not
Yeah.
anymore. No.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. But at the
But
time,
up until 2019.
at the time, the police couldn't do anything about it. So you would have to basically go to whatever site there was, tell them to take it down, and then go through a bunch of process to do that. But they were actually kind of sort of in the clear because you did the act. The theory is you did the act with them, and therefore, like.
Well,
And
I
it's-
mean, I'm just saying that because like you guys were clowning Dana White, like he could have not known at all. Like sometimes things happen. Like
Well, see, here's why I'm
See-
clowning him. Here's why I'm
Yep.
clowning him because he had a deal. So the detail is right. Dana White broke a deal to pay the plaintiff nearly $500,000 so that his name wouldn't be disclosed right after the case. But then he broke that deal, right? So now
yeah.
it's been all over everywhere.
Wait, it's not that he had a deal. It's that he had like a court injunction to not have his name publicly released. The reason why I guess people are clowning him was because he was married with children. At the
Yeah.
time.
That too.
And
That
there are
too.
already rumors circulating about him and Ronda Rousey. And no, I'm not joking about that.
Okay,
Brendan-
man, we're gonna move on. We're gonna
No,
move on.
I'm dead serious. No, I'm dead serious. Brendan Schaub, when Dana White tried to clown on Brendan Schaub released a statement saying, that's no way to talk to your Eskimo brother. Be careful. Yeah, be careful.
Because
And
So-
Brendan Schaub used to date Ronda Rousey, so that was the rumor.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the big question. Go on, Mike.
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I was going to say the big question is how much would you guys pay to not see that Dana White sex tape?
Wait, with Ronda Rousey or?
No, with this chick. Well, Dana White in any sexual situation, how much would you pay not to see that? Because personally, I'd empty my bank account not to see him pumping and dumping.
Okay, here's the crazy thing. I would love to see if this is real. Like if
Hot
this is
gay.
No. I wouldn't watch it. Right? But I would love to see it come to light. I would love to, if it's true, I would love to see it come to light.
Mike's like, I wouldn't watch it. I would observe it.
I would
no.
study.
You guys get what? In all seriousness, I want us to understand what I'm saying. Full clarity.
Mike's taking notes.
No, look. I actually want us to see, I want this to be understood with sincerity because I really want this to be understood. I would love to see it come to light of day because
who cares, man?
No,
but that's my thing. This is MMA. Like a sex tape scandal is not going to ruin your career. Like I'm sorry, eating your wife is not going to ruin your career.
I was literally going to say that. Like it's sad that this is the culture we live in, but like Kevin Hart cheated on his wife and he's doing fine. Like it's sad that that's the reality, but you're going to bounce back.
I disagree, Jeremy. I don't think it's sad at all. I think whatever people do in their personal lives, as long as they're not doing anything that's physically harming someone, who cares? Like,
that's fair.
Why do we care?
I think that
exactly.
The reason why I would like to see it come to light of day is because, hear me out for a second, is that if it's happening to Dana White, and remember a couple years back when it was happening to all those female and male celebrities, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can get some traction forward when it comes to this practice of putting these celebrities out there like that, right?
I mean, that's like a play that's as old as time. So, that's never going to go away.
I don't think anyone deserves that kind of treatment, to be honest with
you. I'm sorry. It's just, for me, I just don't think it's fair. The reason why, again, at the end of the day, this is a man who cheated on his wife. Allegedly.
Yeah, sure, but the repercussions of that deserve to happen in his personal life, right? Like,
there's no alleged. He definitely did it. Like,
okay. So,
by the way, have you guys seen Randy Couture's sex tape?
No. Have you, Stefano? That's the real question.
Yes,
it's
I have.
in America, of course.
Would you like to share?
Oh, it's just him jerking off on camera. It's fucking disturbing. Oh, swear word. Sorry.
We're gonna have to bleep this all out.
It's him. Okay.
Can you bleep an entire episode?
It's him. It's Randy Couture greasing his goose on camera, and it's disturbing.
Oh, why me? Okay.
What Mike's saying is, why me? Why do I have all this great entertainment to go through tonight? You'd be taking more notes on Randy Couture's technique. They call him the natural for a reason.
Okay, that's enough. That was a low blow.
We haven't talked about anything.
No, what are you talking about, man? We're talking about most of our topics. I still want to talk about this NBA comp before we move on to more MMA stuff.
Sure.
I know we're kind of darting around, but who cares? There's no rules. There's no sport. Okay, so have you seen this article about the NBA setting up a horse competition from the players? So basically, they're going to get a bunch of players who are going to basically do what we're doing, video call in, and they're going to be doing a horse competition, and there's going to be brackets, and they're going to televise it.
Yeah, I've heard about it. It's a terrible idea.
I agree. Thank you.
It sounds like a bunch of out-of-touch executives trying to, make as much money as possible in these times. Like,
for sure, it sounds like what 2K bracket. They recently also just had a 2K playoff bracket, also where real NBA
Which I thought
players.
was gonna suck, but it actually surprisingly was entertaining a little bit.
Okay, all right. Well, then never mind.
No, look.
I'll watch it.
For me, it was entertaining. It could, for anybody else, it could have been bad.
Look,
Like,
I'm gonna keep it a buck. I barely enjoy playing 2K, let alone like watching other dudes play 2K. So,
Thank you. Yeah, like
Do you not enjoy playing 2K because you're not good at it, or?
Flames. It's too
Damn.
long, man. It's
Damn.
too long. It's too long. But anyway, you guys talk. What are your thoughts?
look. The horse thing, I think, is a terrible idea. I don't want to see NBA players playing horse. Like, I don't care. It's not it's not one of those things where it's like, even the 2K thing, I don't care. Like, I don't care if you're good at 2K. I care if you're good on the court. I care if you're scoring points for my basketball team. Right now, all I care about is making sure this pandemic goes away so that you're on the court, right? And this horse game is not really going to do much for me. Nor that I thought the 2K one was going to do for me, but I watched it for about 20 minutes. It was funny. It was entertaining. Right?
You can't fault the NBA for trying to give their fans content in this time. It's just that I think all of us find it thoroughly uninteresting, you know?
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe it's somebody's cup of tea. Maybe there's somebody out there who likes this kind of thing. But like Richard Nixon said, for people who like this sort of thing, they'll find that this is the sort of thing that they like. And I think, frankly, we just don't.
Man, trust the white guy to quote Richard Nixon. Oh my goodness.
I am not a
Jeez, like J. Edgar Hoover said. Oh, anyway, sorry.
By the way, if you didn't know, Richard Nixon actually racist towards my people, believe it or not. Italians, that is.
Wait, yeah, you are an Italian.
I am an Italian.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Richard Nixon was just racist to everybody who he could be racist to.
Sorry, go on. You were going to say something about the topic? Because I was going to.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, like, I think I'm with Stefano. Like, I do commend the NBA for, like, trying to give us something. But you're right. Like, I think after, like, watching the first few minutes of it, I'd probably get really quickly disinterested.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We live in an age of infinite entertainment. And, like, I think what a lot of these sports companies don't understand is, like, just because you can put out some live entertainment doesn't mean, like, yeah, exactly. Like, just because there's a vacuum of live entertainment,
we can and we will.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, it doesn't mean that, like, everybody is going to be clamoring because, like, oh, there's no live entertainment. It's like, well, you know, there's Netflix and, you know, video games and all these other things that I'd rather do than watch other people play 2K.
I actually want to speak to that. Like, how much our society has changed. David kind of touched on it earlier of, like, I feel like if this happened in the 90s, it would still be a problem, but people would be able to cope because not everything was so on demand. Like, oh, Netflix, I could just pull it up here. Like, that's what the NBA is trying to compete with. They're trying to compete with the phone. They're trying to compete with social media. Like, but, like, you know, in the past, like, things weren't as on demand. Like, you weren't trying to compete with all these, like, readily available streams of entertainment. So I feel like our society is really, like, changed in that dynamic.
Yeah, it's the old conversation between new and old media, right? And I mean, you're right. Now we just have endless options for entertainment now. You know, it amazes me that people in this situation are saying that they're bored. It's like, how are you bored?
Oh man, you're one of those guys.
No, stop.
Of course, you're one of those guys.
What do you mean? Maybe if you're
bored, maybe if you're bored, you're just a boring person.
Are you quoting me? Are you quoting me?
Are you
quoting
verbatim? My boy Adam Sproul did that. Like, he goes on.
It is a Luke Thomas quote, and I agree with him thoroughly, man. Do you not have any interest? Do you not read books? Do you not have hobbies? Like, what?
No, my boy Adam Sproul did that, and I was like, dude, I hear you, but, like, there's gonna be points in time where you're just.
What's
bored.
your hobby, man? Like, what are you doing? Like, painting little, like, figurines? Like,
bro,
what are you doing? Like, building, like, little ships? Like the ship in the boat? Like the ship in the bottle?
There's a little video. First of all, I find that highly offensive. Not all white people paint figurines. Okay. First of all,
That's a race thing.
you're just making me out to have these lame, dusty white people hobbies. Like, oh, you put on your conductor's hat and play with your model train set.
Yeah,
Bro, come on, man.
They're historically accurate. I get it. They're historically accurate. I get it.
Listen. I've got a. Let me show you my
You play
bookshelf.
Dungeons and Dragons at night later?
Actually, I'm gonna start playing Dungeons and Dragons, but you
See,
can't
got
play that
to.
alone. You can't play that alone. You need a whole party to do that. Look, let me show you my bookshelf.
No,
Tell me
you
if I can
can't
be
do
bored.
that with your imagination.
Look at this.
Oh wow.
I don't have. I got so much to read.
I have a lot of books. They're just like I don't have a bookshelf, so they're just like in a cardboard box somewhere.
Same.
Exactly. And you know what? I feel like comfortable with that because I think it's too much pressure to be like, oh yeah, you got to use this quiet time to work on yourself and personal development.
I had one of my clients. I had one of my clients that like I teach boxing to say that, and I was like, I'm sorry, take your money back. I don't need you to be my client anymore. I'm kidding.
Hold on. Oh yeah, no, I agree with you guys. Why use this time to work on yourself and actually do things that'll contribute to your life when you can, I don't know, do absolutely nothing?
Exactly.
Time.
Exactly.
No, look, I think
you can bang your head against a wall.
Like,
guys,
I don't.
David's idea of quarantine is just banging his head against a wall and complaining about how bored he is. It's like, bro, you're going to be bored when you get released into society as well.
Listen, I think both points are fine. Like, look, yeah, if you want to spend the time to read, catch up on books, like figure out a way to better yourself, that's fine. But I don't think it's incumbent on people to follow suit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like if they're bored, so what? Okay,
oh, sure. Yeah, but I can make fun of them for being a plebeian if they are bored.
And I will say this, if you are still reading paperback books in 2020, you need to take a good, long, hard look at your life.
Wake up and smell the internet, man.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, you're right. I do need to take a good, hard, long look at my life and realize how I became so damn intelligent. It's by reading paper books. First of all, paperback books. The alternative to paperback books are hardcovers, by the way, not necessarily digital copies.
Or ebooks, digital copies.
Now hold on, you just told me you have a bunch of boxes of books in your house, so this is kind of the pot calling the kettle black.
He didn't say he read them. He didn't say he read them.
I unfortunately had to read them, but we will definitely put that as a topic on next week's episode of the book podcast or whatever it would be called.
Are we going to do book recommendations next week? Is that what's going on?
I'm down. I'm so down.
No, that's way too much pressure.
Mike, you can recommend. Hey, hold on, Mike. You can recommend street signs and like restaurant menus that you've read. me, David, and Jeremy will take care of the book recommendations.
I got like some scribbles on like a napkin, and we just like.
Mike's like, well, I read a very interesting stop sign the other day.
Yeah.
Are you calling me stupid, sir?
Well, I'm certainly not calling you smart. So,
yeah.
Okay, but
I love you.
Quickly before we move on, I also wanted to talk about some of these alternate endings I've been hearing about the NBA. Sorry, the alternate endings for the NBA season that I've been hearing. Wow, man, is that dyslexia? Anyway.
See, and I'm stupid. No,
for real. Sometimes I have myself. It's been getting worse. Anyway, so there's been talk of either doing like a shortened season, some kind of play-in tournament where they bring some teams to an undisclosed location, maybe Vegas, and they have them isolated from everyone, and then they play a bunch of games there. Playoff where we'll have 5 instead of having best of 7, we'll have best of 5. What do you think, or do you think they should just cancel the season and just start again afresh in October?
Look, I think they have time to make a decision. Like, there's time. They can think it through. So they don't have to make a decision now. But, like, I guess if you put a gun to their head and make it, like, and
told them... Also, the playoffs end technically at the end of this month. If we didn't have this virus, the end of this month would be the end of the playoff.
No, wouldn't it be like May?
Not playoffs. Sorry, the start of the playoffs.
The start of the playoffs would be, yeah. So like it would be like they wouldn't have to do anything till June, technically speaking, right?
Yeah.
Technically speaking, the NBA doesn't have to make a
No,
decision
go ahead.
till June.
Finish.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, they don't have to make a decision till June. But I guess if you put a gun to their head and said make a decision right now, I would just say push the season back. Push the season back to June. Do best of 5 in the playoffs. Currently of the standings right now. Tell everybody sorry, but them's the way it goes. We had a pandemic, and winner of that championship wins.
There's no guarantee that we'll be back in June. Well,
no, I know.
But be honest, negative Nancy right now, anyway.
But there's no guarantee that and either of these alternatives will be back anyway either, right? Like, but I'm just saying, if you put a gun to somebody's head, you say June is our timeline. If we can't get it done, if we can't get a season going in June or July, if we can't get a season going in July and can't have like some sort of like training camp going in June, we cancel.
I don't think it's even reasonable to expect that the NBA is going to come back, to be quite honest with you. And I don't think, as much as people want to see sports, I don't think anybody would necessarily fault the NBA for just saying the season's postponed indefinitely until we figure out what the heck is going on.
Okay. Thank you for saying that, because this brings me, I love cross-sport comparison, kind of the reason why I'm on this podcast. But soccer, the Premier League, they're going through a very similar, it's almost like a weird mirror situation in that the NBA stops playing, the Premier League stops playing. The NBA starts laying off staff. The Premier League starts laying off staff. The NBA starts asking players to take a wage cut. The Premier League starts asking players to take a wage cut. And
it's almost like they're both sports organizations during a pandemic.
Exactly. But what's interesting is that canceling the Premier League is almost like a non-starter because there's so many financial implications. Because unlike the NBA, there's a relegation and a promotion system. So the bottom 3 teams every season, they fall to the second division. And the top 3 teams in the second division, they go to the top division. And we're talking about like hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in play here. So they're saying that if they cancel the season, there'll be grounds for a lawsuit, which means basically they have to play the season out. And once again,
that's insane.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It really is unprecedented.
Priorities, man.
The problem is that like that means bankruptcy or financial stability, right? Like for some teams. So like I can definitely see them going, we're not stopping this season at all costs, right? For some players, that means transferring from, your dead end team to another good team with a good showing in the Premier League to foiling around in second division soccer. Right.
Sure, but there's bigger priorities, man. It's life or death, or like.
Yeah, but like and for what to be foiling around 5 years later? Like, look, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying I get it. Sure. I'm saying I get it.
Sure.
I think the NBA should exhaust all measures at all costs. But when you listen to the experts who are saying it might be like, there are people who are even saying it could potentially be a 2-year thing. Like, if you listen to the experts, it looks like all sports are going to be affected by this. So what I see happening at the end of the line or at the end of the tunnel is the entire sports calendar just gets entirely revamped. Like, I think we'll see possibly the NBA starting in December and the NFL. Yeah, the NFL. If we're listening to and if we're listening to the experts, the NFL won't start on time. None of these sports are going to start on time. So with the Premier League, if you're talking about a whole lawsuit, like the only way I see them kind of figuring that out is just redesigning the calendar, I guess.
It's crazy. I actually have a friend in fantasy who was doing horribly this year, like in our fantasy group, and he's been clamoring every day. He's like, yeah, so we're going to get the money back for fantasy, right? It's like, wait till they actually cancel the season, you last place chunky. It's like, you're the one who picked Tyson Chandler up in like the 7th round. Get out of here.
Jeez, that's good.
This guy had the gall. So we're at dinner, right? So he picks Tyson Chandler, and then we're chilling, right? And then everyone's clowning him. He goes, Tyson Chandler's a good pick. We're like, yeah, in 2012. Like,
Hilarious. Okay, do you have any other thoughts on the NBA and the other leagues? Because MMA isn't really affected by this. Because when we were talking about this, you were saying, Mike, that we can wait for Tony versus Khabib. We can push that to December next year. It doesn't really matter. But things like the Olympics, things like NFL, NBA, even Premier League, like those are very much time-oriented sports. So, and they have real-world implication, especially like the Olympics. Like people have been training years for this opportunity, only for, right now it's postponed for 1 year, but
well, hopefully the Olympics goes bankrupt because they're a terrible organization as it is.
Yeah. That was but anyway.
But I got this from Luke Thomas, and I don't even watch soccer, so I'm asking David here about if this is a model that can be replicated for other teams. But did you hear about, it was some kind of famous Spanish team, I don't know if it was Barcelona or one of those teams, but they took like every player took a 75% pay cut in order to keep staff employed on their team, staff and the wider organization at large. I think that's super admirable, and I don't know why other teams aren't following suit.
Because they don't want to.
No, not even that. To say that is like saying Conor McGregor donated $1 million to the NHS to like improve, to get like more ventilator masks or something like that. Why doesn't every other MMA fighter do that? Because not every MMA fighter is, Conor McGregor. Not everybody's made that much money. Barcelona is literally the top 5 richest team in the world. If you play for Barcelona, you are one of the best players in the world, bar none. So for them to take a pay cut, like even if it's like a 30% pay cut, even if it's like a 75%, like what is that? Like $2 million out of like your $30 million contract. Even the basketball players, they asked them to do the same, and the basketball players went back saying no. And they asked the Premier League players to do the same thing, and the Premier League Player Association actually came out saying that for the 6 months that you want us to forfeit our 30% of our wages, that's going to be pretty much $500 million. $500 million in lost wages, which is going to be $200 million in taxes. So, you know what I mean? Like, there's huge financial consequences to this. Not everybody can do that. That's on the one hand. So not everybody can do that. That's on the one hand. On the second hand, I mean, you know better than everybody. Money makes the world go round. And let's just say that what I've learned is that sports finances is a very murky game. Not every team has long-term stability. Something I learned, for example, today is that you can actually take a loan from the bank based on your future revenue. So let's say you're a team that always finishes 10th in the league, and for 10th, you get $10 million. Let's say you can take a $30 million loan out based on your 3 years of your revenue. And let's say you don't get that revenue. Let's say there's a pandemic, for example. Then how do you meet your obligations, your financial obligations, like your wages, your rent, your salaries, your insurance? So I don't know. I don't know if there's
AKA they don't want to, right?
Basically they don't want to, but a lot of teams can't. And then it's a different system, because it's not like America where everybody's heavily unionized and everything's really standardized. There's a way more teams in soccer than in NFL and in NBA. So, and that means there's way more players. So
and then when you go to the UFC, I don't think people can even afford it. You got Paige Van Zandt, who's resorting to putting up nudes on Instagram.
Well, hold on. I don't think she's resorting to that. I think she's kind of always done that.
Yeah, that might have just been the rollout.
If we're being honest, I think Paige Van Zandt is probably one of the better compensated, pieces of talent in the UFC, just because she's part of Dana's Aryan Brotherhood of her, Sage Northcutt, Conor McGregor. But yeah, I mean the whole situation with
I was gonna comment on that.
That's a great line. I can't lie.
Can that be the name of this podcast, or will that get us flagged?
Let's
It
do
will
it.
get us flagged. I'm not gonna
The
lie.
Aryan Brotherhood.
It will get us flagged.
No, but like that situation is not unprecedented. Like I think two fighters who, no offense, I don't know who would want to see them naked, but actually started up fans only pages. Jessica Penne and
Oh, we talked about Penny the other day, didn't we?
and
Like the other
who's the other one? The one who used to be dating a Nazi or was married to a Nazi.
Wait, what?
Oh, you don't know this?
Valtric? I'm joking.
No. Beck Rawlings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's got a fans only page too. And yeah, no, I think that reflects terribly on the sport that your female athletes are having to supplement their wages by.
But see, this is my point: is that like you've got people having to do that. Now you're gonna ask them to take a pay cut? Like, I'm saying theoretically, you know,
the UFC would be a different conversation altogether because
you're an independent contractor. You're not an employee. That's a totally different. And most importantly, in like
guys,
NBA,
I'm saying
NFL.
Rhetorically, though, I'm not.
No, but that's
like,
what I'm saying.
yeah.
I'm agreeing with you, and I would say it's even more dire with UFC fighters because with the NBA and NFL, the only reason why we're even having these discussions is because there's guaranteed money that's supposed to be coming in. With the UFC, you're literally fighting what 50-50. Like you don't, like, half your paycheck is like unguaranteed.
Which I think is an insane pay
business model.
Yeah.
Still do that. I can't believe they still do that. It should be illegal, but
absolutely.
That's the way the game is. But yeah, no. So I hear the question.
500 and 500, guys.
No, I hear what Stefano's saying in terms of like, oh yeah, it's so great that Lionel Messi in Barcelona, they donated their salary, but I mean, it's great that Conor McGregor did the things that he did, but not everybody's in that situation.
Look, I think it's great as well that Paige Van Zandt donated those photos to her Instagram page as well, because I think that, man,
real heroes.
She's the real hero, man, helping us get through the coronavirus together. Thank you, Miss Van Zandt. You are
and Mr. Van Zandt, apparently.
Mr. Van Zandt as well. That's right.
Wait, so did he take her name on, or
no? It's just
no. But she said that. She said that in the last post. That's why I'm making fun. I shouldn't, but
okay. All right. Moving on. What else we got here in terms of topics?
We got an Ask Question segment. And
let's do that.
Do we have a question?
5 NBA games from the Raptors this season.
Do we have a question this week?
We got 2.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Do you want to do the NBA thing, and then we'll do the Ask Questions, and then
you guys do the NBA thing. I'm gonna grab water. My favorite Raptors game was when Bugsley Mose was playing against Vince Carter, and
please
the two took on.
Did you just say Bugsley Mose?
Yeah, and the two took.
And I'm pretty sure he did that on purpose too.
The two took on Hakeem Olajuwon, and then Magic Johnson, and it was really something special.
Stop embarrassing yourself.
Wait,
please.
is that the script to Space Jam, or?
Well, come to think of it, Bugs Bunny was on the court. I'll be right back.
All right. Okay. I guess we could talk about if the NBA season's going to end. Then why not talk about some of the best Raptor moments from the season, and in particular, the top 5 Raptor games this season. We have them here. We have some games. Jeremy compiled the list. I compiled the list. Real quickly, as Stefano go get some water. Jeremy, let me throw to you. What's your list?
All right, are we going 5-1, or are we going
5-1? 5-1.
Okay, and once again, listeners, to show my lack of prep, I'm just gonna ref on them and see which ones I remember. That's about it.
All right. So at number 5, I've got the Raptors against the Utah Jazz.
Tower.
Okay, I'm kind of. I'm pretty sure you guys know which game I'm talking about, but I'm a little.
Oh, the one where they vanquished them in the first half, like they ran through them.
Yeah, exactly. It was 40. It was a 40-point lead in the first half. No Fred, no Gasol, and Powell got injured early.
No, he got injured last game.
Yeah, against the Utah Jazz.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Or yeah, no. I'm sorry. That was the 40-point lead was the Pacers, I think. Yeah, I think
No,
that was the
no, it was
Pacers.
that was that game. I have it on my list too. Don't worry.
Okay.
It was that game. But Powell didn't get hurt early. Powell wasn't playing.
Are you sure? I'm
Huh?
pretty sure.
And was it Powell? It was Mark. Mark wasn't playing. But anyway,
Yeah,
the point
yeah.
is
No,
that
yeah, no Fred, no Mark, and Norman Powell got injured early. I'm pretty sure he got injured early during this game. But we could check that. We could check that later. But I'm pretty sure he got injured early this game.
nah, Norman Powell didn't play either. Like, okay, look. This was the
Okay.
game after the Detroit Pistons. I have it on my list too. This was the game after the Detroit Pistons game where three guys got hurt, right? Norm, Fred, Mark, right? And Kyle Lowry and the boys proceed to go in there and destroy them. I remember this game.
All right. I still think you're wrong, but
Okay, that's fair.
we're gonna have to see later. But this game, I put this game as number five because of and this is gonna be a common trend for the most of my list. The fact that they were shorthanded and they were still able to pull off such impressive victories. Held their best players, Rudy Gobert, to like no like almost like just neutralized them. Uh, and the fact that like we just see continually again and again Kyle Lowry stepping up to the plate and just leading this team, willing this team to victory. So that was my number five game. Uh, and you guys want to comment on that game? How'd you feel about that game?
Nah, it's on my list. It's on my list. So
So you're gonna talk about it later?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm not talking about the Utah Jazz game that was earlier this year. I'm talking about the one on the 11th, I believe it was.
You're talking about December 1st or?
No, March 11th.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Never mind. You are right.
See, okay. No, but and I meant to say that earlier. That's the part where I'm a little bit unprepared as I forgot to put the date.
Okay. Number 4, man.
All right, number four was Boston. Was the game against Boston, not the Christmas game, but the one on the 27th.
I remember that one actually.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
can I just say
Davey,
that?
this is where you infinitely went. They suck.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I remember that game. I remember that podcast. Can I just say that back then I wasn't watching as many games as I did towards after that point, after the Christmas break, and they actually did pick it up like a lot. I still think the Celtics were way, way overrated by the media. So just to see the Raptors lose the game before was just so disheartening. But yeah, no, they definitely picked it up the game afterwards. I remember that one.
yeah. I really like this game. Exactly for everything that you said. Just the team coming together and just uh, restating their prowess. Like we're not just gonna get punked. We're not just gonna roll over, and kind of showing everybody like, yeah, we're a serious team. My number three was Raptors versus Philly when they shut down Joel Embiid to 0 points. This was a statement win for me because this was where everyone started to see more so not really Canadian media, but more so American media started to see that we deserve that second seed when everyone kind of even had us out of the playoffs. Yeah. So that was my number three game. My number two game was the Raptors versus the Lakers on November 11th. Now, if you guys remember,
Great
this,
game.
yeah, if you guys remember, these guys had no Kyle Lowry, no Serge Ibaka, and still snapped the Lakers win streak. I can't remember. I think they were on like a 9-game, 10-game win streak. and the Raptors snapped it with two of their best players out of the game. And what I especially liked about this game was that this is where we got to see that we actually had a bench. There was a lot of questions about the bench up to this point, and um, Terrence Davis stepped up, Rondé Hollis Jefferson stepped up, Matt Thomas stepped up, not only on offense but on defense as well. They stepped up. Rondé Hollis Jefferson wasn't really too good offensively, but he comes in, gives you I think 10 rebounds. Like that's a productive player right there. And we were like, okay, we have a bench and we can actually do something this season because a lot of the concern was, oh, we're playing the starters too much. So I really like this game for the performance by the bench, and then the fact that Siakam and Fred VanVleet just led the way offensively. And what I really liked about this game was that they shut down AD and LeBron, and we're seeing like the Raptors. Everyone's starting to respect Nick Nurse for his defensive creativity and how that entire West Coast road trip, you saw the Raptors shut down the best players on each team. They shut down Kawhi, they shut down AD, they shut down LeBron. So that was my number 3 game. My number 2 game, Raptors versus Lakers, November 11th. And then the Raptors versus Mavericks when they came back from a 30-point deficit. This is my number 1 game, guys. I love this game. Like
We
the
were at a
Raptors.
birthday party when this happened. We were at our birthday party when this happened. So it
Yeah,
was kind of cool.
yeah. This was my absolute number 1 game. Um, and just the fact, like the entire time, the question was, does Lowry deserve to be an All-Star? And just the fact that Lowry keeps proving himself over and over again, and this game, he just took the game into his hands. Like I just loved it, absolutely loved it. And all these games are special because the Raptors have been shorthanded the entire season, so it's been terrific to watch it. Those are my top 5 games.
Yeah. All right. So my list, I went for statement games, yeah, but I also wanted to go for fun ones. But I wanted to get games that mattered to the Raptors more so than the other teams, you know? So my list, I got at number 5, October 22nd, opening night for the Raptors versus the New Orleans Pelicans, where the Raptors won 130 to 122 in overtime. Honestly, the reason why I picked this game was it was fun. It was a fun game. First game back since the championship run, and it was fun.
I do
Like,
remember that one. Yeah.
yeah, it was just a good game. Like Lonzo Ball went to work, Brandon Ingram went to work, and it was just a fun game. And I think Fred VanVleet had like one of his best games of the year this year, that game. So that's number 4. Number 5. Number 4 is November 25th, 2019 versus the Philadelphia 76ers. This is the infamous 0-point game for Joel Embiid, where Marc Gasol proved that it wasn't just because Joel Embiid was sick. That's why he was struggling in the playoffs. It's because Marc Gasol knows how to play him to a T. And to a tune of 0 points, Joel Embiid, was basically shut down the entire game as the Raptors won 101-96. My number 3 game, I got December 28th, so the game after Boxing Day for the Boston Celtics as well. I just think I like the heart after losing on Christmas Day by 16 and getting embarrassed to go back into Boston's home and embarrass them. I thought it was a good bounce back win for them. And if people don't remember, I think the next 2 games after, they started that great 15-game winning streak that they had for a while. Like they just started that ridiculous run. It was after this game. It was very within reach of this game. So that's my number 3. My number 2 game was December 1st, 2019 versus the Utah Jazz. The end score, 130 to 110, is not the entire justification of this story. The Raptors were shorthanded and basically were up by 40 at the end of the half versus the Utah Jazz. They spanked them around in the first half. These guys showed no mercy. I think Rudy Gobert got a technical for how frustrated he was, and he should be, that coronavirus. No, I'm kidding. But they went to work there, and I really appreciate that game. And my number one game, obviously, I think this is number one in a lot of Raptor fans' hearts this season. I got them December 22nd, 2019 versus the Dallas Mavericks. Literally the week before, I remember we had a podcast on Kyle Lowry's usefulness and top 10 game, and he showed everyone, why he deserves to be an elite player. 30 points, 32 points, 10 assists, brought the Raptors back from a 30-point deficit to win the game. And I think this is where a lot of Raptor fans stopped the ill talk of Kyle Lowry this year. I think this is where that kind of nonsense kind of stopped. I wouldn't even call it nonsense, he doesn't really have a flashy game, but there's things that are valuable about him, and I think that's when people start to recognize it. So yeah, those are my top five. Anybody got any, objections?
No objections from me. It's been a great season so far. Nick Nurse, Coach of the Year for sure.
Yeah.
Pascal, Most Improved Player again, I think.
Again.
You know what? Sorry, go on.
No, that's pretty much all my hot takes. Yeah, that's it. Marc Gasol, offensively, still a shambles of what he used to be, but defensively, he's actually proven his worth, and he's a really slick passer too. So, I've been watching more games, appreciating more. I think, once again, speaking to how good Nick Nurse is the fact that this is a team, especially at the start of the season. I don't know if we talked about it, but I was talking with a couple of people about it, and I was like so low about the team because we had like no one pretty much to replace what was as star-studded as a team as we'd ever had before. So just to see Terrence Davis, Rondae Hollins-Jefferson, who I thought was done, actually contributing, that's pretty cool. So
you know what it is with Nick Nurse? He makes these guys play the best that they have to play. He holds them to a standard, and if they're not following the standard, they're on the bench. Now, how much can you do that when Kyle Lowry goes away and Marc Gasol goes away, and you need 12 guys to play basketball for you? I don't know, but as of right now, it's working for him, right? And that's why I like.
What made you leave the Raptors against the Lakers out, or did you have that in?
I didn't
hear it. Yeah, what made you leave it out?
I just didn't think. It's definitely in my top 10. I just didn't think the game itself was enough over the other games. It didn't have the fun factor that was New Orleans versus Toronto, and I think the other games just were more statement games. Like, for the Raptors, like Kyle Lowry really needed a big game versus the Mavericks, and he got it. They needed to prove that they can beat 500 plus teams, and they did that against the Jazz. They needed a bounce back game after the Christmas Day debacle that was that game against Boston, and they got it. And, that 0-point game, I think it had to be there. Like, I don't care what anyone says. It had to be there. But the game itself, like the Lakers game, I get it. Like that win streak going in there and then for them to snap it, it was cool. But A, they've been shorthanded all year. And B, it wasn't even that good of a game to me. It was kind of boring. Like, so
why?
That's
it
why.
was mostly defense.
And like, you know what? The Raptors were in doubt. Like,
I'm just saying all those things that you were saying are kind of indicative of this game too.
Yeah, but not as much. Like, that's the thing. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not as much. Like, I just, in my opinion, I think these games were more statement games or more fun than I can definitely take out the New Orleans one. I can definitely see, like, I can hear that argument, like, take out the New Orleans game. Sure. But I just think that this game, that game was just A, not very fun for me, and B, not as much of a statement game as, let's say, them pounding the Jazz into submission in the first half. Like Quinn Snyder threw the white flag up by like 2 minutes ago in the second quarter. So that's just the way I see it.
The way you were explaining it, you're saying like it's because Kyle Lowry is proving himself, and I feel like this game was more of a highlight for the bench because it showed us that we had a bench that we could rely on. So I feel like that's why you're kind of excluding
But
it.
like,
That's why
but my other thing too is that the bench has always been a thing. Like, wasn't it like 2 years ago we called them the bench mob? You know what I'm saying? Like, think about it.
yeah, but the
So
bench mob has now basically become the starters. Like OG's now a starter.
Pascal,
Pascal's now a starter. So
Van Fleet.
no, I know, but like the one
that
thing
was
that the
a bench
Raptors have
mob.
always been able to count on, even when Rudy Gay was traded, was that the bench was going to show up. So I don't see.
I don't know about that. I don't know
I mean,
about
like
that.
I can go back to the Gravis Vasquez, Patrick
Rudy
Patterson
Gay.
days. People were like excited for the
Okay,
bench.
we gotta
So-
stop. We gotta stop talking about basketball. If we're going back to the Gravis Vasquez days, we gotta stop.
Okay,
Wait, what
okay.
about what's this about Rudy Gay?
Oh.
Guys,
Yeah.
I just like to interject. Do you know what I think was the greatest basketball game of all time for the Raptors?
All right,
Do you
go
guys
ahead.
remember
This season?
the Ben Ulch triple double? This was April 26th, 2012, where DeMar DeRozan scored 52 points versus the Bucks. Wow, what a game! What a game! I mean, DeMar DeRozan rightfully holds the top overall seed here. His franchise record, 52 points, represented the. It was the high points. I'm just reading off of.
I was like, holy! I was legitimately shocked. Like I was shocked. I was like, for a guy who doesn't know any basketball, like he's actually on the money.
Was I actually? I didn't make it. Yeah. Okay.
Oh man, Grievous Vasquez was a dark time, man. That has to be one of my least favorite point guards as a Raptors fan. Luckily,
It's crazy because he got to the playoffs for the first time in like 5 years.
Hey
Like,
guys,
Okay.
guys. Speaking about playoffs, how about the playoffs of this podcast, the fan segment? Where
Yes,
we
Oh,
ask questions on air.
Oh wait. All right. Okay, we got 2 questions. By the way, if you'd like to ask a question, the lightkick1@gmail.com.
Also, if you'd like to send Mike explicit pictures, also the like kick 1@gmail.com.
Or my personal Instagram.
Or hate mail.
Hate mail, death threats. We take them all.
Yeah.
Strange
Like Lil
packages
Boozy
containing
says,
powder.
I'm not gonna go there.
What's that? What?
Like Lil Boozy said, put your bleep on live. I'll give you $1,000. Send me your cash app.
Or what is a little boozy, and where do I get one?
Hilarious, and please explain the bleep because that definitely adds a lot of context to that.
We'll
statement.
talk.
All right.
Wow, David, you don't know that?
No, I gotta go look that one. Do my research.
Like Tekashi 6ix9ine once said, "I'm too drunk to taste this chicken."
Oh man, I thought you were gonna say snitch on everyone, but fair enough.
Okay, questions. All right. Okay, so the first one, I think we already did. It was, what do you guys do to stay in shape during a pandemic? We got through it kind of in the beginning.
You guys
So
want to
we
go over this a little bit more?
Yeah,
though?
let's
'Cause
do
we
a
didn't really get to
roundtable.
specifics. Yeah.
All right, fine. Specifics, fine. All right, everyone around the round table. We got like 8 minutes left because I got somewhere to be. So
Okay.
Wow, big
So-
time.
Yeah, Mike's got
I'll
He's
be
got
honest. I just want to watch anime all day. So like, come on, hurry it up.
So I'd recommend shadow boxing. A lot of shadow boxing. It's a good way to focus on your form. You can also, tailor the rounds to your own particular needs. Yeah, it's good visualization training as well. Picture an opponent in front of you. Running is good, provided you keep your distance from people outside. And yeah, calisthenics. That's all I'm going to say. Calisthenics. Get a pull-up bar and get to work.
All
Guys?
right.
Fair enough.
Next.
Okay. I was probably gonna say similar things. I've been doing similar things, probably not as much frequency, but similar things. I start shadow boxing is just so like essential. Like it's super easy to do. Pretty much every time I get in front of a mirror right now, I'm shadow boxing for like 5-10 minutes. Victoria's probably wondering what I'm doing in the bathroom for so long. I tell her I'm using the washroom, but really I'm just shadow boxing.
Shadow boxing. Eh?
Yeah,
Wow,
shadow
shadow
boxing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Working on my form, if you get my drift. But also running has been hilarious. That was a really delayed laugh. I
I
really
tried to
hope.
hold it in. I tried to hold it
David,
in.
Lame.
are you when you're shadowboxing, are you looking at the man in the mirror, asking him to change his ways?
I'm looking at the man in the mirror, asking him, "How did I get here? What are you doing with your life?" But that's a conversation for another podcast. But as well as shadowboxing, push-ups, sit-ups, squats, you can do that without any kind of like equipment or anything like that. And I feel like if you do like 20, like usually that should be okay. Do 3 sets of that. You've got like a pretty decent like warm up going on. I also think like yoga has been really good in terms of like stretching out my muscles, stretching out my joints, working on my balance. So those are the things I definitely would recommend to others who would even bother listening for sure.
Jeremy, how have you been keeping you and your baby pigeon fit?
How's Raul
So
doing?
basically, what Raul's good. So basically, what I've been doing.
After that
Uh,
mouth to mouth, how could he not be?
all
Continue though,
right.
continue. Don't address that
Um,
comment. Just continue.
all right. Yeah. So basically, the one thing that goes away with no gym is a lot of explosive movements, like hang cleans and box jumps and things like that. It's kind of difficult. So, but like but things like explosiveness leave after 1 week of staying stagnant. So, a lot of what I've been doing is a lot of track workouts. Um, a lot of I've been doing some road work, maybe like running 20 laps. I like doing my running on a track instead of like a course or whatever. Um, so yeah, like 20 laps, and then I'll do uh my my sprinting training. So I'll do like 4x100s or 6x100s, and I'll do that. So like that's basically what I do. But uh, it's just right now I'm just focusing on keeping my explosiveness. Bless you.
Thank you.
Right. That's basically what I've been doing. And just simple push-ups, air push-ups, prisoner squats, pull-up bars. But you got to be careful because if you get caught doing like pull-up bars on any kind of like public park, like you're going to jail or getting fined. So you got to be careful. I
Hmm.
wanted to
It's
play
a
basketball, but
No, that's a wrap. Every single life off.
Well,
it's
yeah,
like
no,
a
but
it's like a
technically, if
certain
we're
bus
family,
driver once
I can
said.
school you on in a game of 1-to-1 and not get in trouble. So
No, you
you
can't.
you
No,
said you
you can't.
school me?
yes, yes.
No,
Okay,
incorrect,
sibling
sir.
rivalry aside,
All right. This is Officer Sweater. Remember that for a second.
I
Officer
like
Sweater.
that it's blurred out. I love it.
Oh, hold on, hold on.
Sibling,
Ah, it's not working. Is it still blurry? All right, never.
kinda. Sibling
Look,
rivalry
look, look, look,
aside,
look, look. No, David, and Stefano. Let me explain to you something. Michael is actually a better basketball player than me, but it's a question of if LeBron James and Michael Jordan went one on one. I'm LeBron James. All I got to do is work him down in the post, and cause I got a decent handle and a decent shot, I'll find my game. Because I'm the bigger, stronger guy, I'm just gonna work him down, and I'm just gonna do what I got to do, and I'm gonna whoop him. This is the absolute truth.
Now,
Michael,
if
I
I
Michael,
love
hold,
that
hold-
this
here's the
Tom.
question.
Michael
Now,
is the
here's the real test. Here's the real test because basketball. Let's be honest, not really a sport. So who would win? Who would win in a fight between you two? That's the real. That's what I want to know.
how is basketball not a sport?
Why
The
you
only
do this to
sport.
yourself, man?
The only sport are combat sports, my friends.
So jousting.
Jousting's more of a sport than basketball. Absolutely.
All right, okay,
All right,
that's
let's calm down.
enough.
Hey, man, people
Please
died
calm
in
down now,
jousting.
please.
People have
In the
died.
words of Habib Nurmagomedov, calm down now, please.
Hilarious.
All right. Cool.
Okay,
Second question.
wait, Michael, how do you stay in shape during
Oh, I
a
just been
pandemic?
running. Honestly, I wanted to work on my endurance anyway, so like this has just kind of been regular. Um, yeah, I've been running, doing 100 push-ups, doing the One Punch Man workout: 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, run 7K. Trying to shave the time down to 30 minutes. Yeah, and obviously like because like explosiveness is a thing that like I do want to keep. of course, doing stuff like calf raises, box jumps, like full on sprints at home. Not at home, but like in like the yard and stuff. Just get up, sprint, and hang the pads. Oh, by the way, if you have a sibling who also is a kickboxer or like knows how to hold pads, take advantage of them during this time.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, not all of us have a pad holder at home, a sibling pad holder.
At least not legally, no.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Are you
What?
are you saying that you have a Mongolian sex slave, sex slave chained in your basement who you're using as a pad holder? Well, David, it's okay. You don't have to confirm that. You don't have to confirm or deny that statement. Mike, what's the next question?
Did you hear that take about like that British boxer? What's his name?
Billy Joe Saunders?
Yeah. Who basically did the same thing, made some jokes about, this is how you beat up your wife on a pandemic and blah blah blah. Now he lost his boxing license.
Yeah.
Like, talk about corruption.
It's sad. It's sad because he can fight. Like he's legit, and so goes to show you. Well, don't be stupid.
Let's get to the next question because I gotta get out of here too.
Yeah. Okay, quickly because like we're up against it here. Wow, Jesus. Can we save this for next week? It's a very loaded question. Should amateur MMA fighters get paid? We'll save that for next week.
Yeah, that's gonna. Yeah, we'll save that one for next week.
We'll take it forever.
I also have a fan question that got emailed me to hear. How do babies get made? That's by Jeremy Asiffo, but we'll answer that one next week as well.
Wait,
Okay.
what?
We answered that one. We answered that one literally like 3 weeks ago. It was.
Stefano, I got the same question, and I just wasn't gonna bring it up, but
Jeremy just spammed all of our emails with the question, how do babies get made, expecting us to answer
That's hilarious. These guys are trying to prank me or something.
No, bro.
Jeremy, don't emails every day, right?
I swear Jeremy asked me that 3 weeks ago, and I was shocked. I was like, Jeremy, when two people love each other very much.
That's nice. That's
Jeremy,
very nice.
You pray very hard to Jesus.
That's nice.
Man, don't be ashamed of your question. It's okay.
Yeah, real mature.
There's no such thing as stupid questions on the podcast.
Jeremy, should we bring this up next week? We can cut this. We can, Should we bring this up next week under a different name? Do you want us to go, address you by a different name, like?
First of all,
Jacob Asiffo or something? Like what?
First of all, Stefano, I'm gonna need you to back up from the camera. I'm getting all eyebrows right now.
Hilarious.
They don't call me the eyebrowser for no reason.
All eyebrows and bangs, straight bangs.
Jeremy, you still have the shot of you're browsing Omegle right now. Aggressive upshot.
Oh, that one where it rises upward.
Aggressive upshot with the chin covered.
Oh yeah, I shouldn't let the world leave the world out on my chin.
That's a strong chin. The world deserves to see.
Honestly, I've never been knocked up before, so I do got a strong chin. I've been punched plenty of times, but I've never been knocked down.
True. We'll have to save that for our story time segment next week.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, let me do my thing.
Wait, hold on. I gotta plug us first.
Okay, go ahead.
At the beginning of the podcast, guys. I don't have much to say. I don't have some epic speech this week. All I've got to say. Okay, fine. I've got a little bit of an epic speech. More of a threat. Pandemic or not, we're not asking for your money here. We're asking for you to comment, like, and subscribe to the podcast on all possible outlets. Please. If you don't, we will show up at your house. Pandemic or not, we will show up at your front door, and we will break down that door. We will eat everything in your fridge. We will give you an upper decker in your toilet. And
Wait, what?
What? Nothing. So basically, all I'm saying is comment. Tell your friends about the podcast if you haven't before. Subscribe. We're doing this strictly for the love of the podcast right now, and we want to bring you this great content. We want to keep doing it and help make it worth our while. Subscribe. Thank you, guys.
Cool. All right. In this crazy pandemic-filled world where in the 1 year there's a pandemic, it happens to be nice outside. Looks like spring, but don't worry about that, right? In this crazy world where you can't go outside on a nice spring afternoon without being harassed by the police, just remember, justifiably harassed by the police. Just remember, you got family, you got love, you got friendship, and this podcast. Good night, everybody.
Peace out. MMA gods, please come back. All right.